Welcome to Gen 365 podcast. This is an initiative of Beyond the Veil Mission. And this is a podcast for the community to empower a generation of healing and hope 365 days of the year. Before we begin, I want to remind you the meaning of humanity or Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. Therefore, to create a safe and brave space for all of us, we must remember that my healing is as good as my community healing. This is a podcast for everyone who loves the community. If you are listening to this new episode, I want you to remember that we see you and you matter. Welcome. Hi, Tristan. Welcome to Gen 365 podcast. My name is Lydia. I welcome you today, and we are so happy to have you. When we thought about starting this podcast, this is a podcast for the community. This is a podcast really where we want Rwandans everywhere in the diaspora, Rwanda, to really connect with other cultures, what we can share with them, what they can learn from our healing experience, our resilience, and also what we can learn from other community. And when we thought about Gen 365, really is building a generation of hope. 365 days of the year, encouraging people to have hope, because there are always many challenges out there, especially in the Afro-Black community. We have so much trauma in our communities, some from slavery, wars, genocide, and we are in the era where we face so many Black racism, so many things, poverty and everything. It never ends. However, on this journey where we are privileged to have professional caregivers like you, we want to hear how our community can be encouraged to have hope throughout everything we are going through. So one thing is that, a question can be, can I keep fighting for equal rights and still have hope, knowing that tomorrow there is another crisis? How can I keep hope? So this is the major reason of our podcast. And when we thought about really people wanted to be on this platform, actually top 10 we wanted to be on this platform was you, because of the work that you do, not only for Rwandans citizens of Rwanda, especially the youth, but also your work go beyond in the diaspora. We see you connecting with different communities, and we welcome you today, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much, Lydia, for having me, and to be able to join Gen 365. It's a pleasure for me. It's an honor for me. Well, you kept calling me a professional caregiver, but to give you a sort of a background, I don't think I'm a professional caregiver. I'm actually an economist. I am a monetary economist, but who's very passionate about mental health and who wants to be that friend, who has that listening ear, and who wants to be part of the resilience journey of Rwanda, but also who wants to give a message that you don't need to be a psychologist to have that listening ear. You don't need to be a psychologist or a mental health expert to be there for everyone. So you can be an economist and still be that. You can be a politician and still be that. That's the issue we had, of always thinking that for you to have that listening ear, for you to be able to, not to heal someone professionally because they're professional caregivers, but at least everyone in a society, including economists, including everyone else, can have that listening ear and can be that friend who could be there for others to talk to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tristan, for correcting me. I think the term professional caregivers go beyond just, therapists and psychologists, because we're thinking about all the people in the community that do the work that impacts on the mental health level our community. It does not matter where background, professional background you come from, but as long as you do the work that really impacts our community economic level, actually that's really something that impacts our people on the caregiving area. And we thank you so much. And that goes to my first question. First, we know you mostly as the chairboard or the president, correct me if I'm wrong, of the Rwanda We Want. And I would like to hear first, who are you in your professional settings? And also, who are you outside of your work? Because part of this conversation is to start looking at people like you as human beings, because we just see you everywhere doing the work. But we want to hear who is Tristan in the professional settings, and who are you outside of that area? Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I don't know how to say it. It's really a hard question. However, I'll try. And I am a younger person who was born in Rwanda after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. Actually, I was born in 97.
Oh, wow, you are so young.
3 years after the genocide, and I think that Rwanda after the genocide was really suffering a lot, and mental health, as every other field in Rwanda, was in chaos. However, mental health was more in chaos because after the genocide, people were traumatized. They needed healing, and there is no services. There was nothing. Rwanda was nothing at the time. However, after the genocide, when the RPF came into power, the government of national unity, they tried to put on settings, both on mental health services, infrastructures, and everything. And actually, I happened to be part of a family of the only 2 mental health professionals that were in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. A country of millions of people who were suffering, and we only had 2 mental health caregivers. My dad was the only psychiatrist of the time, and my mother was the only mental health nurse. Wow. So in a way, I grew up in that setting of 2 persons who had to take care of the mental health of so many people, and also who had to do the trainings and everything. So in a way, I grew up understanding it without needing to go to school to learn about it, but through the conversations on the table. Because even though they were so busy, but I'm so glad that I grew up in a family that was a really, in French we say une famille soudée. Yes. Like our family was really a close family. We would always meet at night during dinner, and there would be, my parents would be telling us, their journey, their jobs, and everything. Mm-hmm. And I think it's how I came to be interested by mental health. Mm-hmm. However, I had my own ambitions. I had my own dreams and plans. So I think I continued because I started realizing that this country needs a lot. And in a way, we also needed not only reconstruction in terms of healing, but also reconstruction in terms of social economy, reconstruction in terms of infrastructures. We needed reconstruction in all fields because Rwanda needed people. Rwanda needed us, the young generation. Mm-hmm. So at the age of 17, I created Rwanda We Want at my school. But when I created Rwanda I Want, it was not really to work on the healing. Mm-hmm. It was more to bring young people together, to sit and talk about our dreams together, to talk about the Rwanda we want together. Mm-hmm. In a way, to have an opportunity to talk about this beautiful country, but also to talk about what we should give to this great country. Mm. So it was more of, we'd be there talking about our aspirations, but also learning about leadership theories from John Maxwell and others. But then something happened in my life, and then I had to change the entire direction of my life and also the direction of an entire institution. Mm-hmm. So actually, we founded Rwanda We Want when I was in my last year, like in my final year of high school. Mm-hmm. And exactly on the day I received my results that I graduated, that, I am able to go to the university, it's on the same day that my dad passed away. I was actually very, very close to my dad, And one of the things that my dad wanted both me, my siblings, my sister, my brothers, was to keep his dreams as a legacy. And the dreams of my dad was to see a healed country. And well, when my dad passed away, my brother was in Geneva, lived in Geneva. My sister lived in Halifax in Canada. And my little brother lived with Down syndrome. So in a way, I was like, it will be really hard for them to contribute. However, I'm here. I'm in Kigali. I'm in Rwanda. I can be part of the healing journey and of that dream of my dad of seeing a healed country. So in a way, it is like we totally shifted the direction of the institution, which was a club at the time. But obviously, my friends understood that we needed to, not only because we need to give, to continue the legacy of my dad, but because it was really a need. It was a need for the community. It was not only a need for me, it was a need for an entire community to be part of the healing journey of this country, but obviously of the social cohesion journey of this country. Because we cannot have healing without social cohesion, and you cannot have social cohesion without healing. I always tell people that we cannot have one without the other.
Absolutely.
We need to find approaches, but innovative approaches to seek for both. Because at the end of the day, we know that the young people are the most creative people. So it was obviously for us to do the work, to try to find that innovation. So in a way, if you listen to me carefully, it's like my professional life and my personal life are intermarked in a way.
Yes.
Because sometimes I don't tell people that at Rwanda I Want it work. It's more of a dream I live. It's more of a dream I want to achieve. It's not really a job, because a job has, it starts at 7 and ends at 7. It says at 7 a.m. and ends at 7 p.m. But I think that being part of Rwanda We Want and being in the leadership of Rwanda We Want is a dream more than a job. It's something I live.
Would you call it a calling?
Yeah, I think it is a calling. So yeah, I think this is who I am, and this is why I founded this institution. Because, to be honest with you, I think I've never said this, but I think I really started existing when I created this institution with my friends. Because before that, I was born in a family of servants, of people who liked to serve. So in a way, and I felt I was not really serving. But when I founded this institution and seeing that it was helping the community, it was helping my school, it was helping my friends, I think it's that time that I really started existing, because it gave my life a sense. It gave my life a purpose. It gave me a reason to wake up every day. So yeah, I think that's it.
That's really an amazing story. Understanding that your life outside even the work is who you are. That's really a calling, and I truly love that. I really love that, because I think even thinking about our community, one of way of helping us as we heal, when we discover our calling, it gives a purpose to our life to wake up every single day and be like, I'm going to show up for something. And I thank you so much. I'm gonna ask you a personal question. I need to know what year did your dad pass away? What was the year?
It was in 2016, 1st of March 2016.
Okay, yeah. I think when this was not part of the discussion, but I know. I'm actually surprised that also your mom was a nurse, mental health practitioner. That's really you coming from really a very inspiring family of caregivers, which is really amazing. And we can see how they have really lived that legacy, and we are benefiting from that. My sister passed away from in 2018 from untreated trauma, major depression, alcohol addiction. Actually, your dad used to treat her. And when your dad passed away, I asked you that question intentionally because she was like, nobody else is going to help me. She was like, this was the person who understand me, and I don't think that anybody else can understand me. So I can see that your family was doing the work really as a calling. And myself, I'm a future therapist completing my master's degree. And I can see there is a difference when someone doing something from their calling when they're doing it as a job. So, and I think your parents, the work they did, and you, what you're doing, I just want to say thank you for, what you for continuing their legacy and also doing it as your calling as well. Okay, so I have another question that we ask all of our guests. I will just ask one. If there is one thing that you can ask to your younger self, just one thing, what can that be? And one thing you can give to your younger self, what can that be?
Well, I do think that one thing I can ask to my younger self is to take life more easily, if I may call it like that. Because at the end of the day, I do think that the thing is, when I started Rwanda We Want when I was 17. Mm-hmm. So it is like all my youth age, I gave it to the community, to Rwanda We Want and everything. So maybe one thing I'll do is to say, take it easy, because at the end of the day, life is all about enjoying, and is all about being happy. So I do think that I would tell my younger self to have more fun, because I do think that I really didn't think I really had a lot of fun when I was younger, because I think I was too busy. But I think that that's the only thing I'll do. And what would I give to my younger self? I think I really don't know. I really don't know, because I think, well,
okay, you don't have to force it. It's quite a question.
To be honest with you, I really don't know what I would. But maybe to respond to it in another way. Yeah. I'd say that I'll tell my younger self not to be too harsh on myself, and I'll enjoy more life and enjoy more time with my dad, when he was here, and with my siblings, and because at the end of the day, these are not things that are constant. Because when we're young, we tend to take everything for granted. Like, my dad will always be here, my sisters will always be here, my mom and everything. But with time, you guys tend to be separated, because some go to study abroad, some unfortunately pass away. So let's give time to the people we love, and let's allow ourselves to be happy. And I do think that I will tell it to my younger self, and I will tell it to anyone else who's young.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And please, Tristan, you are still young. So although you cannot bring back the time to, to have, to share with your dad, really, we cannot bring that back. However, I want to remind you that you are still young, you can have fun. And, this is the reason why we bring in people in leadership to help others, because, we recognize that sometimes we tend to give a lot and we forget ourselves, and we can give as much as we're able to give to ourselves, and it's a journey. Thank you so much. The other question will be like, I think, how do you manage your workload, and how do you integrate self-care into your daily work? You have some work that you do, and we need to see how you really integrate self-care in your daily work.
Well, one of the things I said is that, I don't think really I go to work. I go to achieve my dream every day. However, one of the things that I do, in a way, it's more of loving what you do. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like a job. Because at the end of the day, when you're doing something you love, it seems you're giving care to yourself. However, obviously, you have to always find some time for the people who really matter to you, to your family, your friends. So let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we tend to, always be like, I have work, I have a lot of work, I have deadlines, I have to go to work. And if I don't do that, things will be a mess. But the thing is, the day you pass away, the day you die, those people at work, the next day they will have a next chairperson, they'll have a next executive director.
Yeah.
But those people who you do not spend enough time with, your children, your friends, your real friends, I mean, your family, they will lose more than those people. In a way, I'm saying this because I realize so many young people of my age and also older than me tend to always be like, I'm busy, I cannot spend time with my mom, I'm busy, I cannot spend time with my dad. And I'm like, the thing is, if something ever happens to you, life will go on at your workplace. They will have a replacement the next day. However, your mother will never have a replacement.
Yes.
Your wife will never have a replacement. Your siblings will never have a replacement. Because you are more important to them. So I do think that it's one of the things is to always have this balance and always think about, who do I matter to? Who am I important to? And obviously always find time to have fun, to laugh, to enjoy, to do things we love. At the end of the day, I always tell people that it's not expensive to do things we love. It's just a matter of sitting with people you love. It's just a matter of talking to the people you love. Maybe if they're not there, you can call them on the phone. You can have a call with them. You can sit with them if they're there. It doesn't require anything. It just requires you to have some time, to have some time off. And I do think that self-care is more of being happy with the people around you. Because I do think
on
that
the personal level, you would say that the way you integrate self-care in your daily work is finding the time to have laugh and hang out with the people, with your loved ones.
Exactly. Because I do think that, well, to be honest with you, I don't want, most of the time people confuse self-care with loneliness.
Yeah.
This is an issue we have in the community. Self-care is not that. Self-care is doing things we love. And at the end of the day, humans are social beings.
Yes.
We are meant to be with people around us, and then in a way to change the environment. If you have friends at work, if it is break time, don't talk about budgets. Don't talk about concept not that.
Yes, I love what you're saying, that, the way we confuse self-care, even thinking about culture, different cultures. When we think about self-care these days, it's like, the social media therapy, it's more, do yoga, sit down, meditate, those things. And sometimes we have our own way based on the culture we come from, based on personalities, based on who we are. Even myself, I think really I practice more self-care. If I can have one day a week where I interact with people, I'm so fulfilled in a way that I start the next week feeling like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. I'm so energized. So self-care look really differently. I love that you bring in that.
Exactly. So it's actually the two ways, as we were saying. Like, it's time to spend time with the people you love and talk about something fun and do something fun. But it's also a time to revisit ourselves.
Yes.
And to ask ourselves, am I not being too harsh on me? Am I not being, am I not asking a lot to myself? Because at the end of the day, nobody will ever live on my behalf, and we should not just live day by day or just surviving, but we should live, and do the full meaning of living, which is being happy, which is means to love, to feel these emotions. So, and I do think that the reasons why we get detached to these emotions is that we do not revisit ourselves and go back inside ourselves and ask ourselves, what is my purpose? Why did I wake up today? Am I happy? Am I making people around me happy?
Yeah.
And but most importantly, I should give happiness to myself, because this is the only way to. In Kinyarwanda, we say, you cannot give what you do not have. So if I have revisited myself and made sure that I do have that internal happiness, obviously I would spread that happiness.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you. And that brings me to the next question. Mental health is one of your organization, one of the many initiatives of Rwanda We Want. And I need to know, why do you think we need to address this topic, and how do you go with it? Because, there is a general, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying that there is this conversation about mental health everywhere. And I need to hear the approach of Rwanda We Want, because at some point, there is a lot of conversation around that, mental health. And I think I am starting to thinking, are we addressing this in the right way? How is your organization really thinking, and how are you addressing this conversation in a different way?
Well, to be honest, I do think that I will more of speak of my perspective as a Rwandan and as a young person who grew up in Rwanda. First of all, even seeking for mental health services, even up to today, is still stigmatized. Of course, it's starting to be well. Some days ago, I was reading a report that many people are admitted in Dera Psychiatric Hospital. Mm-hmm. And then so many people are admitted in mental health centers, if I may call them like that, like rehab centers, in these centers where psychologists are, people are seeking therapy. In a way, they say that the numbers have risen a lot. Mm-hmm. But in my view, it was not only a red light. It was also a good thing that at least people are now going to seek for these services that they were not seeking before. Because in a way, before it was really stigmatized. You would be like, how can I go to the doctor when I don't have any pain that is explainable? Mm-hmm. I don't have a headache. Mm-hmm. I didn't fall down. I don't have malaria. Mm-hmm. I don't have COVID. So why should I go? Mm-hmm. And then at least people, due to the fact that now mental health is starting to be destigmatized, little by little, we still have a long way to go. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that even people out of that domain, if I may call it like that, because before mental health was only talked about by people in this specific field of mental health, psychiatrists, psychologists, and everyone else. Nobody else was talking about it. And I think that even the fact that even people like me, who's an economist, and people like others who are even politicians are starting to talk about it's okay to seek for help, I think that it's already a good start. And what is the approach that Rwanda Want is using? Because I think that was the next question. Mm-hmm. We are using a more of a community-centered approach because at the end of the day, mental health services are still expensive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we are organizations, at the end of the day, we have our own ways of raising funds. We have our own ways of raising money. Mm-hmm. And at least bring mental health services to the community instead of just waiting for them to come to us. We go to them. And in a way, we organize safe spaces because we mostly work on transgenerational trauma, which is a subject that many people are not working on because people are like, how can you suffer from something you never saw? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in my organization, we knew very well that even young people born after the genocide were suffering, were having issues, and it was all related to transgenerational trauma. And we realized that one of the reasons to why it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're, having major numbers of, because transgenerational trauma, when it's not healed, of course, it leads to depression. I think one of the reasons we're having these cases going up and up and up is that there were not even safe spaces whereby these young people could go and talk and express their feelings without being judged. Mm. Because in the family, it was impossible because, these young people are like, how can I talk to my mom, who's a survivor, that I'm suffering, and yet she does not say she's suffering, and I say that I'm suffering, yet I was born after the genocide. So it was more of creating a safe space and telling to these young people, it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to suffer, because at the end of the day, you did not choose to be born in this context. So it is okay to suffer, and it is okay to verbalize it, and to have a sort of a community or a space that was created for these young people, whereby they would feel they're not alone. Because there is nothing as much as painful as when you feel that your pain is not valid, and yet you're feeling so much pain and you feel it's not valid. So it was these spaces that were created by Rwanda We Want were more for validating this pain, were more for telling these young people, it is okay, you're not mad, you're not weak, you're just going through something that was transmitted to you through, this process of epigenetics. We have to explain to them exactly, of course, using the scientific methods, but also using the things that they understand. But then later, Lydia, we realized that just working with these young people and, working with one boy from this family and one girl from that family and maybe one mother from that family was not the right approach to use. Because at the end of the day, most of the time, if you see that one child of the family is going out there seeking for these services, most of the time it does not mean that he's the only one suffering. It just means that he is the only one, or she is the only one who had the courage to seek for help.
Yes.
It is more of the, in Kinyarwanda you say, iwe ryagaragaye ntibaricisha isuku. The stone that has been seen cannot destroy the I don't know. But in my perspective, it was more of, even when these young people could have healed, even though healing is a big word, they could go back to this family that were still a mess. And then obviously they would go back. They would go back to the starting line. So it was more of, why can't we deal with families as a whole?
Yes.
And instead of just dealing with only one person when you go to the community, whenever we see that this family needs healing, we do not only take the dad or we take the mom, we take the whole of them, and you ask them, when are you free? So that you join the space whereby we can talk about what happened, obviously on the watch of a professional, and then we accompany them. And then this started working, actually.
Yes.
And we would hear families telling, we think that what would make things worse in this family is that there was no communication. Everyone was suffering on their own, because we all thought, we are a strong family, we are a decent family, But then we realized that we're all suffering in our rooms, in our own corners. But then when we came together, we realized that we could be of help to each other. That even though these young people felt that they were alone, and yet the family was still there. It's just that they were so quiet. There was this silence that was too much. And then one of the reasons we create these spaces is to stop this silence and allow people to talk about what is hurting them, and not stigmatize them whenever they start talking about their feelings, and because they feel safe. I'm going to tell you something. Then in the civil society, in the NGOs, you probably know because you also run one, everything has to be documented. You have to take pictures of every activity we do, because we need publicity, because without publicity, the institution cannot survive.
Yes.
However, on these specific spaces, I sat with my team and I was like, we will not document this kind of work. We will not take pictures. We will not take videos. And even me as the chairperson, I will not join these spaces, because for a safe space to be a safe space, it's because there are people who feel that what they say will stay in the room.
Yes.
And make it as confidential as possible, so that people are able to speak freely, surrounded with people they know, surrounded with people they love, instead of just being surrounded with my communication team.
I love that you bring that up, because many Rwandans actually have a problem of, not trusting confidentiality within the services that they're receiving. We have a small countries, and even here where we are in the diaspora, it's often a small community. We all know each other. And even with our organization, there is a time we had fundings and we're offering to cover therapy fees for some individuals from the community. We had 3 therapists, 2 from our own community and 1 from outside. And everybody was going from outside because they were like, this person might know somebody who knows me. And actually in therapy settings, it's really right, confidentiality. We can work with people that we know directly because, and I appreciate that the work that you're doing to ensure that the safety of those families, trusting that the information are kept safe. And even like, you are right, putting those pictures on social medias, unless there's a consent, but it's something many leaders in our community need to practice to ensure that. Sometimes I tell people, I grew up in an orphanage a part of my life, and I would like to grow up at 30 years old and seeing my picture somewhere on social media, someone raising funds using my picture without my consent. Even when we talk about consent, if I'm 10 years old, 6 years old, I might say yes, but I don't know why. So I really love how your approach, especially using the family, the healing of the family system as an approach. Honestly, I think it's always something that works better, especially that you work with the youth by research. When you look, actually younger people do well in therapy when the family is involved. On the adult level, they can do well on the individual level doing therapy. However, when it's younger people, as their family heal, it helps them to heal faster. So thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you, we often hear that the young people are passive citizens and, still they're learning to make their own decisions. What are the tools they use to empower the youth? Because, there's so much expectation on the youth. I am telling you, even sometimes I read things, the youth should do this, create jobs, do this. It's like they are the future of the country for sure. But then when you look into statistics, they are suffering the most actually. So then I'm like, how in your work, how do you really empower the youth, having to juggle all of that, learning to make their own decisions. We see them as the passive citizens. Tell us a little bit about that area.
Well, I do think that one of the reasons is that they seem to be passive, or why they are passive actually. One of the reasons is one you just mentioned. They say that, youth are the future, Mm-hmm. Every time the word youth is associated to the word future. Mm-hmm. And then, they're like, it will come. And eventually the first tool we give to these young people to empower them is to give them the word present and be like, the future starts now, because the future is now, because the future won't just come from heaven and fall down. You'll have to prepare for it. And at the end of the day, we have a mentorship program called Virashoboka, whereby we try to bring these young people together and bring young people who could sort of be role models to them, and then tell them, I also started when I was your age. I also started when I was 15. I also started when I was 14. And here I am today. I'm a success today, not because it was a miracle, but because it is the choices I made. So telling young people that it's a matter of the choices we make, because the choices I make today obviously will impact my future. So always empowering them with this thing that you are the one who has your life in your hands. You have the choice of making it a perfect or so yeah. The thing is simple. You just have to tell the young people that, and to show them, not only tell them that at their age of 16, 15, it is when you really decide about where I want to take my life. And of course, these lost years will never come back. And also tell them to not, there is this tendency lately, based on social media, of everyone wanting to be like these celebrities online, and thinking that, just because I saw Lydia or Tristan, doing great things on social media, it means they're doing well, and then for me, I'm a failure. No. we always remind them that it is their path. You have your own path. And the only thing that would really kill the whole vibe, if I may put it like that, is when you start comparing yourself to anyone else. So one of the tools we give them is to remind them that they're the ones to make the choices. Number two, that of course I'm saying this to the young people in Rwanda, that they were not born in any country. They were born in a country that is in the phase of reconstruction. So it is the time to make an impact. We'll be part of the history. We are the generation that came just after the chaos. So what did we do? Because at the end of the day, I remember when I was around 10, I would always ask my dad, so what did you do? What did you do for your country? He would have an answer. So you should always work every day so that also your children will have an answer. You will have an answer for your children. Because I remember telling someone this, I do the work I do because I want that when I have the opportunity of having children one day, and they ask me, Dad, what did you do for this country? And I'll say, I did this and that and that. And when I was young. So I do think that it is something that we always remind to young people. One day, the history will ask you what you did when you had the opportunity, what you did when you had the strength, what you did when you were young. Because when you're young, it is when you're the most innovative, it is when you're the most creative. But what did you use that creativity for? Did you just sleep on it?
And I think I like what you said. We are in the country that is trying to rebuild itself. And I think even the name of your organization, Rwanda We Want. I think when we think about rising from everything that we went through as Rwandans, because statistically over 90% of Rwandans during the genocide witnessed violence. When you look women's side, over 35% women were raped. So it's like, the healing work is a community healing. As much as, we have to do the work on the individual level, but it's all of us actually without even thinking. Of course, the survivors of the genocide against the Tutsis are the top priority. But as Rwandans, all of us did witness the violence, and really sad to say, trauma does impact the victim, and trauma does impact even the person who committed those crimes. So for the healing, I tell people, even as survivors, I am able to feel like, now it's safe. I can start the journey of healing if I am sure that the people, out there who did the perpetrators, they're receiving help to recognize their role and heal from their action. Then I can know that I'm safe here. So when we think about healing Rwanda, actually, it's a whole country healing journey. And I like that you mentioned that, the young people have to recognize that the country is still on the journey of rebuilding. That means, of course, we need more opportunities for the young people, but all of us have to come to the table with 1%, 0.5% we have to contribute to the growth of our country. It's not like, a responsibility of just the government to do all they can for the young people, but all of us have to come together to see what we can contribute. So I think on the next question, I will ask you, you have met so many people on this journey, helping the community. Can you share with us, one of the memorable, either some of the memorable memories that you have on your journey? It might be those stories that really reminded you, oh my goodness, I'm glad that I'm doing this. So can you share with us those examples?
So recently, I think I'm going to say one of the most recent examples of when these young people with these families were graduating from the spaces, from the multi-family healing space, and then they're like, today I'm able to have a normal family because my family was literally a chaos. There was no communication in my family. There was just silence. And today, my family is able to communicate again. My family is able to embark on a journey of healing together as a family. Mm-hmm. And we are a stronger family because of this program that was brought by Rwanda We Want. I think I've never felt much pride in my career than listening to this man who is the head of the family, who was being vulnerable and saying, it was a mess before, and your organization in a way saved my family and brought it together again. So I do think that it is one of the thing that really made me happy in this career. And also, I think another story is a bit more personal.
Yes.
So one day we decided to produce a documentary film on the reconstruction journey of Rwanda, but also on the role that was played by the post-genocide youth, by the young Rwanda born after the genocide. So we had an event, a sort of a premiere event, whereby we invited people to come in that event and watch the film, but also use the opportunity to debate, to talk about the challenges, but also to talk about the solutions brought up by young people. And I had invited, officials, friends, diplomats, and everyone. But I had also invited my mother. And then at the end of the event, my mom called me and said, "Come here," and they came. And she said, "Tristan, I am proud of you. You remind me of your dad."
Oh.
I do think that due to the fact that I was really working a lot on this legacy of my dad of working on healing, and the matter of fact, a person who knew him more than anyone else, because they shared life for more than 25 years. And this person is telling me that I'm looking as this person I want to be like. I do think that this was also a milestone for me. Maybe it won't be written in the books. However, it was more important. I think the most important recognitions we get is the recognitions we get from the people we value.
Absolutely.
So, and I would use this opportunity to voice this up, to give this message of always find a time to tell your loved ones that you're proud, because in a way you always tend to take for granted that my children don't know that I'm proud. But when you verbalize that, when you say that, it gives them the strength that you cannot even imagine. It is bigger than when you get awards from most prestigious organizations. It is better than you being told by anyone else. But when it is someone like your mother, your wife, your children, and your siblings telling you that, it sounds differently.
Absolutely.
So we should always remind that to people, that we are proud of them, and that we are proud of them. It helps them move forward.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much. Those success stories really help us to move forward. And I am so glad that you're sharing with us. And I want to ask you, what is one thing that you wish young people asked you often? I think you really meet different people and they ask you questions, but sometimes there's this one question you're like, I wish people ask me more about this. What is that one question? It might be personal, it might be professional, but it's one question you wish young people, anyone, were asking you more often.
I think it's not really a question about myself, but it is a question about every one of us. It is what is our purpose? Because most of the time people are asking you, what is your purpose? What is your goal? What was your journey? But they don't ask you, help me find my purpose. Help me to know my journey, because in a way we share our journeys, and in a way it's like we're telling them, follow this journey. But it's more of, I wish they would ask me, help me find my purpose.
Okay.
Help me find a reason to why I should wake up every day, to why I should go on forward. Because one of the reasons that leads to these bad thoughts, including suicidal thoughts, including this imposter syndrome, including this thoughts of always being, I'm not enough, I'm nothing, I'm behind everyone, is because we really don't know. Most of us don't know our purpose. Most of our peers don't know their purpose, and you get, knocked down by anything and everything. So, but if you knew your goal, if you knew your purpose, it will be more easy. So I hope that I will get this question more often. Help me find my purpose, and help and tell me maybe how you knew or how you learned that this was your purpose.
I really love that question, because I think even myself, one of the things that really transformed my entire career, everything, was the minute I recognized my purpose. I was like, from that time, I never stopped. Every single day I wake up like, oh my goodness, there's the next thing, because I know my purpose. I know where I'm going. And yeah, that's really a good question. I think, anyone, regardless of what you're going through, if you can really try to ask about that question, what is my calling? It really helps you to wake up. I think recently I was so stressed out, having so much on my table. And I told my friend, I wish I can have 2 days to be depressed. I need to be down, just cry because I am so tired. But then I don't have that time. But then I'm like, actually, I am so grateful that I have things that keep me going. Maybe these are the things that are helping me to be like, instead of getting down, there is a reason why to wake up every single day. I have to wake up every single day helping my boys to go to school, getting ready. Even if I feel like, I'm overwhelmed, but I have a reason, and that reason keeps me going. So I think that's a really actually good question. Everyone can, if you ever need any help, can ask. And I think I will go to the last question. The purpose of our podcast is really, to shine hope on anything. I think, part of my calling, even starting Beyond the Veil, is sharing education through hope. Any education really have to bring hope to the community, and thinking about even those numbers rising, mental health needs in the Rwanda. You're right. It's not that it's alarming. Actually, because when you look at the numbers and the impact of the genocide against the Tutsi, most of us should be really lining up to seek help. This is not a joke. Those numbers, I'm even worried if we don't start earlier, it can even double in the next few years. So honestly, when I tell Rwandans, I tell them, regardless who you are, if you are a Rwandans, have lived some of these experiences, if you think you are okay, it's okay to still go and process, whatever you went through, because, our brain keeps the score, and actually our body is able to really keep the trauma. So even if you are doing so well, make sure if you have access to any support to go ahead and release that trauma from your body, because it really does catch up. Anything can trigger your brain and boom. So, you are right. It's not just, there is, of course, recovering from the pandemic. It's not even in Rwanda only, even here in Canada, everywhere across the globe, we hear especially economic issues, social issues, so many isolation that are contributing to many mental health crises. It's a crisis everywhere. However, really we understand. I need to ask you, if someone asks you, because in moments like this, one of the things we lose is hope. Would you say that there is hope for the future? What would you say if someone asks you, I've witnessed a lot and I'm worried that there's no hope for the future? Would you say that there's hope for the future?
Yes. Obviously, yes. It's not probably yes, it is yes. It is yes because looking even at the story of this country, it shows that hope helps. Because after the genocide, Rwandans had hope of a better future. Even though people were like, this is going to be a failed state, but they had this hope. Mm-hmm. And they worked towards this hope. And then even the generation that came after, which is my generation, the post-genocide generation, we were part of that hope that later became a vision. Mm-hmm. Because hope later becomes a vision, and hope makes us live. Because at the end of the day, if we do not have hope, we cease to exist. Mm-hmm. Because hope keeps us moving. Because hope shows us is that light in the tunnel. And I would say that we can lose anything, but if we lose hope and resilience, we are done. So we should always water that hope. We should always water that resilience. And then how do I say that we water that hope as if we're watering flowers? To always have thoughts of it is possible.
Yes.
It's possible. And I would say this in the Rwandan context, looking at where this country was, looking at how survivors were literally miserable after the genocide, and looking at them, how they are striving all over the world and in Rwanda, and how Rwanda became a success story, it shows what hope can do.
Yes.
So anyone who's almost losing hope, think about the Rwanda story.
Wow. I love that because really even Gen 365 purpose is really tell the world that Rwandan story is a global story. Really, Rwandan story is a global story, and part of our work will be even to bring people visit Rwanda and learn from really where we are. And if you are Rwandan, really Rwanda represents hope, and you are here. The fact that you are here, that means hope. Yeah, thank you so much. I think I have a bonus question. And this question goes to our audience as well. As we end this podcast, I want you to go home and reflect on this question. And it's going to help us to know maybe that one thing you're thinking, you have to include it in your daily goal every single day. I'm going to ask you this question, and I need our audience to respond to these questions personally, or maybe ask a member of your family, a friend. If you had, usually they have 24 hours. If we can add 1 hour, which can make it 25 hours, what can you do with that extra hours? And if a day had 23 hours, that means one hour less. What can you give up? So you're going to tell us if there's 1 extra hour per day, what can you do with that? And if there's 1 hour less, what can you give up?
Well, it's funny, but if I had 1 more hour, I would use that extra hour to hug the people I love. To hug, because hugging communicates life, and hugging, brings back happiness and brings back life. So I do think that I've never thought about this, but I think I would hug. I would hug my mom, I'd hug my friends, I'd hug my colleagues, and I'd hug my friends who are going through a lot, because hugging speaks more than the words. And if I had to reduce one, and then make it 23 hours, I would that hour would be the social media hour, because I think we spend too much time on social media. And I think that we should, that hour would surely be reducing, social media.
Wow, that's really awesome. And I need everyone, if you either journal every day or have a self-reflection, either you're praying or anything, think about maybe one thing you can give up on your daily basis and one thing you can add if you had extra time. I love that you said that I can hug people. Oh my goodness, I can hug my loved one. That's so deep. A hug can heal. A hug is everything. And I hope, moving forward, you're going to schedule some time. Can I hug someone today? And on the social media area, most of us are guilty. Let's really reduce that time to offer that to ourselves and people we love. Thank you so much, Tristan. And we do appreciate a lot. And yes, if anyone want to reach out to Tristan for their work, support, Rwanda We Want, they're on social media, or you can go to their website. Is there any other easy way people can reach out to you, or do you have a phone number? How people can reach out to you, Tristan, your work?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you very much for having me. I think this is the first time I'm having a conversation on this, because normally when I'm invited to speak somewhere, I have to speak about a specific topic, or even about Rwanda We Want, or about, these things they call the path to success. But I do think that this is my first time when I'm asked what I really want to do, and I realized that I really want to hug the people I love.
Yay!
It was an opportunity to also revisit myself and rethink about the things that matter. Because you made me go back in the past and realize what were the things that made me happy. Sometimes you're like, maybe it was this award I got, maybe it was this beautiful grant I got, but we tend to realize that it is the small thing. It is the words that we received from the people we love. It was the testimonies from our beneficiaries. It's not the big things. It's more of the small things. And thank you for making me revisit those beautiful memories. And for people who want to reach out to me personally, obviously, I'll be glad. So my email is tristanmurenzi@gmail.com. And I use social media. I use Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, even though I want to reduce the amount of time I spend there. And it's Tristan Murenzi. And to those who want to reach out to Rwanda We Want, it is info@rwandawewant.org. And our website is www.rwandawewant.org. And we also have social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook. You just have to write Rwanda I Want and go in the inbox. My team will respond to you. And if you want to reach out to me personally, obviously you can reach out on my email that I gave or on any social media. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And shout out to Krista. Krista is one of our on the podcast project coordinators. So she's the one putting together all these questions. When I saw that, I was like, Krista, I know you are so young. Trista is young. I love these questions that you put together. So you are right, having really an amazing team help us to do this work. And we appreciate a lot everyone who supports our work to make sure that we really serve our community. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you very much.
That's it for the week. We hope you gathered your dose of resilience for the week ahead. Follow Gen 365 podcast to know when the next episode comes up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. Share with your friends, community, and family, and do not also forget to follow and share feedback or questions on our community organization social media at Beyond the Veil Mission on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Or learn more about our work via our website at www.beyondtheveilmission.com. In the spirit of building resourceful, stronger communities, we can also help your community or business or organization to share your news and event on our podcast. Please email us for collaboration at podcastgen365@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye.